Hi guys, my name is Blanca Bravo and I'm going to interview my amazing brother, Asuncion
Hi,
Bravo.
how's it going, guys?
I'm very excited to be interviewing him today. He is an amazing person and very, very knowledgeable. So we are going to start off with the kids are not all right, the mental health crisis affecting Latina teens. The reason why I decided to go with this is because we, as a Hispanic community, I feel like we're more in touch with it. Like we lived in a Hispanic household, and you can testify to my mom. If you told her, "Hey, mom, I don't feel like right or anything," she'll be like, "Hold on, we got to pray about it."
Yeah.
Let's go to church. Like God will if we pray hard enough, these feelings will go away. And sometimes feelings don't go away like that. Sometimes you need a little bit more help than just the Lord. So, do you agree?
I do. I feel like there's a lot of stigma around mental health when it comes to religion. Like you said, everything is believed to be fixed through prayer, through talking to God, and they ignore the fact that there's a neuro imbalance in our head. So no matter how much prayer you do, no matter how much talking to the Lord you do, I feel like it doesn't fix the issue. You don't get to the bottom of how to cope with what you're feeling.
And you know what? And that's a huge problem growing up. Because if you feel depressed or anxious or anything in the beginning of your life, your adulthood, which is your teens, which is very important, this is really what shapes you as an adult. So if you have your parents suppressing that, you feel like you have no out, like there's no out for you. So what happens is that teens become suicidal. They feel like, hey, there's nobody that understands me. My parents don't understand me. And if my parents that are close to me don't understand me, who will? So they decide to shy away and not talk to anybody, and they bottle that up. So it's very important for us to really reach out to the Latin community, especially the ones that come out and migrate here, that, hey, there is a problem. There is mental health. Just because we can't see it physically doesn't mean that it does not exist.
Yeah, you're touching on a good point because, like you said, people that migrate here maybe don't have the education and the knowledge to be able to comprehend the emotional side of that. So growing up, growing up, your parents are always, as a guy, they always teach you to suppress your feelings, suppress your emotions. That you're supposed to suck it up because you're a guy. You're supposed to act tough because you're a guy, and that really affects it. I've never told this to anybody before, but shoot, maybe I believe it was either Thanksgiving or Christmas time. I just remember we were gonna go out to eat with some family, and I was so sad. I don't remember why, but I do remember that I felt like I had nobody to talk to. I believe that I had no one to be able to confine in because I just felt like less of a man if I did. And I did try to commit suicide. I mean, it failed, but I did try. And I blame that a lot on on pretty much like not having a parent with the knowledge of of knowing that mental health is a real thing and that it can be among your children.
Hold on. Are you serious?
Yeah.
I'm so sad. I'm so sorry. I did not know. You know, I I wouldn't have known what to do without you. You're so important to me. I just want you to know that.
Thanks.
I I had no idea.
Yeah, so and a lot of parents don't, and that's why it's really really important to create that awareness that stuff like that does go on, and sometimes you don't notice it because maybe you're too busy with work, you're too busy with other things to even pay attention to the small details.
You know, one of the things that I want to highlight is that when you go and ask, you know, your parents for help, or anybody really that it's uneducated in this topic, one of the things that they do tell you is that, you know, we can't seek help because, you know, people are gonna think you're crazy. You know, only crazy people do that. Like, you're not crazy. And if we go and seek therapy or anything, like, that's not what we do. You know, that's what crazy people do. And that also, you know, stays with you as an adult. Like, you know, if I seek anything, what are people gonna judge me for? You know, am I really, like, I don't want people to think that I'm not all the way there. And I'm still shocked about that. I need you to take over.
All right, so you know, we did we came up with some questions regarding the video that we watched, and one of those questions was, you know, why Latina teens are affected by mental health. And, you know, well, first of all, we have to talk about what kind of mental health issues really occur. You know, some of them are anxiety disorder, major depression, PTSD, alcoholism, or even rates of suicide attempts. This also stems, you know, from bullying in schools, from shaming, you know, from wage gaps from your parents. You know, you feel like sometimes you're not as lucky as other children. So, you know, despite, you know, dealing with these conditions on a regular basis, Latinos are actually less likely to access mental and behavioral health care resources, especially children and young adults. In fact, actually a study found that adult Latinos born in the US have higher rates of depression and suicide attempts than non-Latinos.
You know, one of the things that I do, there are two types. So those are the ones that, you know, that don't seek, but the people that want to, it's very difficult for them to access therapy, because if they come from, and if they themselves, like the parents are undocumented, and as well as the kids, it's more likely they don't have health insurance. And even if they did, the majority of therapists do not accept health insurance. And the reason for that is because they feel like the reimbursement that the health insurance gives them is not enough. So the health insurance pays for this, but after they're reimbursed, it's not enough. They get more out of pocket. I mean, they get more money if the client pays out of pocket. And research that I did do is that every session, it's about $100 to $200 a session. So imagine if you have to do this maybe once or twice a week. You know, that's $100, $200 a week, $800 a month. That's a lot of money. And again, you know, if parents are undocumented, they're unable to get a very well-paying job, especially the cost of living now, it's skyrocketed, and makes it really impossible for this to be accessible. And there is actually places where they do have free services, but they're so saturated, they have a waiting list, don't know when they're even going to be open. So again, not accessible. You know, another thing might be a language barrier. You know, you and I both know my mom doesn't speak English, and that's a huge problem, you know, by going anywhere. There has to be somewhere where she can communicate. So I do want to talk about the fears that Latin teens might face because of their undocumented. You know, do you think that their fear and anxiety is higher because they're so afraid that, hey, I don't want nobody to pull us over, or I don't want the cop to come near us or anything? Like, they don't reach out for anything because they're afraid that if they ask their parents any questions, they would find out they're undocumented. Do you think that that's a fair point?
Yeah, I do think it's a fair point. I feel that, you know, a lot of teens do not get help with a lot of teens with undocumented parents don't get help because they ask for your IDs, they ask for so much information, your social, whenever you need any kind of healthcare. So a lot of people are not educated in the laws, and they think that any maybe government entity that asks for that information will give out that information to immigration and have them deported. So I feel like that hinders a lot of families from even getting help for themselves or for their children.
Also, the trauma, that these kids and their parents, as a family, having to migrate from a country, from their home country to this new country, and maybe not feeling like they're not accepted in the community, like they don't belong, and that also can bring a lot of pressure, to their parents, to their kids, as a whole. So I wanted to see